As we welcome in the editor-in-chief of the Fourth Period, the host of the DFO Insider here on the Nation Network, Wednesdays with our buddy Irf Gafar, it is Mr. David Pagnotta, back here with Sekeres and Price. How you doing?
Not too bad, boys. Not too bad. How's everything out west?
Pretty quiet.
Wet.
We're just wondering about if there's any interest in Pierre Olivier Joseph. We're just nibbling around the edges, really.
Exactly. Filling in the margins here, David. Needless to say, the Canucks are keeping you guys in the insider business busy these days. We're going to go down a checklist of a few teams here that have reportedly shown interest in Quinn Hughes. David, start me off with the Carolina Hurricanes. What are you hearing there?
Yeah, this is a team that is never afraid to get involved in the big market, in the big boys. We've seen this in the past. Gensel, it started with Gensel, then they went to Rantanen last season. If there's a big fish, they want to be part of it. They were able to make a deal in the offseason for Keandre Miller out of New York, took advantage of their cap situation and the contract demands from him. They're never afraid to be part of this discussion. And my understanding is they've had a loose talk, like a lot of other teams have, with respect to Quinn Hughes. If this gets to a point of we're at a serious level of trade discussions involving Quinn, then I expect the Hurricanes to throw their hat in the ring fully and be involved in this. My curiosity leads me to believe that would they consider, or leads me to question, if a guy like Stankoven might be available, if they look at Nikishin, what type of package might be available. Those would line up with the type of players the Canucks would certainly be looking for. Whether the Hurricanes want to go in that direction, way too early to tell. But they're another team that you add to the New Jerseys and the Red Wings and the Flyers that I expect to be poking around once this gets to a serious state, which I still maintain is not there yet.
Is it safe to assume that the Canucks stand to, again, until it's executed, but just as a theory, the Canucks stand to do a lot better in today's cap climate than, say, if all this had gone down a couple of years ago with a flat cap? Like, if there was a time for the Canucks to hit a home run, shouldn't it be now, where nobody is really struggling for cap space and dollar in, dollar out only applies to a few?
It should. It certainly creates more in-season options than it would have in the past, without question. A lot of teams have a lot more cap flexibility. A lot of teams have done that specifically for potential ads later on in the season. And now with the idea and the notion after the Board of Governors meetings that we're likely to stay at $104 million next season, maybe, but more likely that we are going to stay, it gives teams just more confidence in their projections in terms of what they want to do beyond this season. And if it applies to a player with term, that's going to factor in. So it does give, in this scenario, a few more options for in-season. But if you're the Vancouver Canucks and this is the direction you're actually going in, you're going to try to maximize your return regardless. So whether it's Carolina or one of the other teams was part of this, obviously the job would be to maximize your return. But now, as you said, it does indeed give them more options for in-season. But I still want to pump the brakes on things to a certain level because, again, I'm not convinced right now that this is something that's going to happen. It's not going to prevent teams from continuing to poke. And maybe things change in the second half of the season, but that's just where my mindset is right now, talking to other teams.
And before we get to other potentials, which is there's a push and a pull here of you get Quinn Hughes for 2 playoff runs, pro. Con, you don't know if you can re-sign him because you're not allowed to until July 1st. So, which of those is the bigger force for a team right now? You're going to be way more likely to offload Sun, Moon, and Stars if you think you can keep him long term, but you lose the playoff run. Which is the bigger force right now?
See, this is what on the surface. We're focused on this year and next. If we can win this year and next, and this guy pushes us over, let's do it. Juice is worth the squeeze. But talking to a lot of people around the league, they still believe that Quinn Hughes and his camp have a lot of say in this, even without no trade protection, even with, yes, Jim Rutherford and Patrick Alvin can do what they want because he doesn't have no trade protection. The idea is if we're acquiring him, it means we've got a good chance at extending him. On the surface, it's cup run now, cup run next season, and we'll worry about the rest of it in July and hope to sign him. That hope, I feel it's got to be a little more concrete, not guaranteed, but you've got to have a certain level of confidence that if you're spending a significant amount on acquiring Quinn Hughes, that you've got a strong level of confidence that he's going to stick around beyond next season.
Educated hope. Yes.
Yes.
Makes sense.
Right.
New shooters this week have emerged. Talk to me about the Washington Capitals, David.
Yeah, this is another team that we started to hear over the weekend and in the last couple of days. It's escalated. That they're another team in the mix. And they've got, obviously Jacob Chikrin's doing great things on the blue line for them right now. John Carlson's on an expiring deal, although I anticipate that to extend. They're going to get to that at some point. And I wrote about it this week. It sounds like from his side of things, when they come to me, we'll figure it out. Not going to be a tough negotiation. Hasn't happened yet, but that'll be later on in the season. But with the tide shifting, or eventually shifting in DC with Ovechkin's situation, and still I think it's going to prolong a little bit, but looking long term, this is a team that wants to add and wants to remain competitive, and at the same time understanding that most of the teams that we've been hearing about are in the same division. So that's also a factor, I would imagine, in this, to say, all right, we got to enter the mix in this capacity. We don't want a player of this caliber joining New Jersey or the Rangers or the Hurricanes or whomever, or Pittsburgh or whatever. They've got to be at least part of the discussion as well. So, and this is also the idea from this club that, again, things are shifting a little bit. And another era will end soon at some point in the next, few years. How do we remain competitive? How do we add that star power to our group for the foreseeable future?
I have two follow-ups here, one on the Capitals, one on the broader division. Would the theory in Washington be this might be Ovechkin's last run? Let's do everything in our power to try and see if we can build a cup team for OV this year.
I think it's part of it. I think they view themselves as a legit contender, and I think they're going to look to add to their roster in various capacities. But it's a combination of that and some of these younger guys taking over, whether it's Poitras, whether it's Ryan Leonard, who's out a few weeks now. You're seeing some of the younger guys coming in that are the next regime long term for this group. So to combo the veteran presence that they've got there with some of these younger guys, and if you can add to it, I think the core would like to be in that mid to late 20s range, which is where certainly Quinn fits into that. It gives them an opportunity to remain competitive now and over the next several seasons. So whether it's chasing a cup this season or next, and Ovi sticks around even longer, maybe he tries to chase 1,000 goals, you want to still give him the opportunity to compete. And that's the mindset there in DC. I talked to some of their guys when I was in LA last week, and it just seems like that's the mindset there, to keep this window open, not to pry it open forcefully, but they feel that with what they've got and where they're looking at, they can be in a position to keep that window open organically for a pretty long period of time.
And then my second follow-up, you mentioned the division, David, and this would apply to teams in the Devils division. So the Metropolitan. So Capitals, Hurricanes, we've talked about them. We're going to talk about the Penguins. Flyers are interested. Rangers, we've even heard Columbus. Would any of these teams be demurred by the fact is Quinn really going to extend here and commit to a life of playing his brothers as often as he would play his brothers against the New Jersey Devils? Do you think that has any bearing on the interest offer level, concern or confidence level of a acquiring team trying to re-sign him? That, is he really going to commit to a life of going head to toe with his brothers as often, maybe even in a playoff series?
Atlantic Division only.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I'm sure that's part of the discussion. I think we haven't heard definitively from Quinn that that's his priority, that he wants to play with his brothers in New Jersey. He's mentioned that, yeah, it'd be great. Obviously, I'd love to in any scenario because it's my brothers. But I don't think anybody's been given any indication that that is, from his perspective, the be-all, end-all. If I'm not playing on New Jersey, I'm not playing anywhere else. I haven't gotten that sense at all. Little internal competition never hurt. If he's in New York, for example, or Philly, it's pretty close to Jersey. They can still hang out on off days, be a little bit closer to each other. I'm sure that's a benefit, but I don't want to say that that idea and that theory is blown out of proportion. I don't think it's a definitive prerequisite from that side of things. Would I like to play with my family? Would I like to work with my family? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. But in this case, if I had a brother to play with and at a pro level, yeah, of course I'd love that. I think anybody would. But again, I don't think that's a definitive prerequisite. It has to be stamped in or carved in stone that it's Jersey or nothing. I think, and that's why we've been hearing teams so much in this division that have expressed interest in him.
Talk to me. Where's the Pittsburgh interest coming from? How serious is it? Well,
Pittsburgh is going through, obviously we know they're supposed to be going through a rebuild, and just with how well they've been playing, it's I'm not saying shifted things, it's just altered the mindset to a certain extent. But as they will eventually go through this quasi rebuild, it's looking at players that are in their mid-20s that can be part of a new core moving forward, and Quinn obviously fits that mold. I can't see a reason why the Penguins wouldn't inquire. To the level of interest, I'm not sure, and I haven't looked too deeply as to what type of potential package, what centerpieces might be available to go back the other way, because I don't think it's there yet. But there is some level of confidence that they have some pieces that would engage the Canucks into at least entertaining the idea. But beyond that, I don't think it's gotten too far.
Yeah, the complication with Pittsburgh, of course, is that Quinn gets there and he looks around and he sees a 38-year-old Sid, a 39-year-old Malkin, a 33-year-old Rust, a 32-year-old Raquel,
right.
On and on it goes, the 35-year-old or 38-year-old Letang. Yeah. And he goes, oh, okay, is this even a better situation than Vancouver going forward because all these great players are towards the end?
I wanted to ask you about, and we can broaden it a little bit, the Columbus Blue Jackets. They've been loosely tied as maybe a dark horse to get into this. But I'm also wondering, now the Kiefer Sherwood trade stuff has really died down. No surprise because the guy can't find the back of the net at all, stuck on 12 goals on the season. But I'm also looking at a local guy for the Vancouver market in Kent Johnson, who has 1 point in 14 games, 23 years of age, still very young. If you are responsible in the Columbus Blue Jackets front office, you let that percolate and you're patient. But maybe they're not. Tell me where Columbus's head is at right now.
They to me definitely have the pieces that would make something work. You look at the roster, you look at what they've got in the pipeline, and you look at the young players on this team. Without question, I think they have the assets that they can package up that would be enticing enough and attractive enough for the Canucks to seriously consider that possibility. From their side of things, well, first of all, I don't think it's gotten to that level, because I think still that's across the board. But I think from Columbus's side of it, this is an opportunity to add another star, another superstar to their lineup and to that back end. To have Werenski and Hughes on that back end, you're looking pretty good. With the guys up front that are taking those next steps, Fantilli and so on, it puts them in certainly good standing in wanting to compete in that division and in the Eastern Conference. And with, they're going through they will be going through a $400 million renovation to the building. You want to stay relevant, you want to sell tickets, and you want to give fans a reason to show up, not just because you've cleaned the rink up. So I think the pieces are there. I think it's just a matter of a willingness from Don Waddell to go down this road. to add a player of that caliber, I don't think there's going to be anything from ownership that stands in the way on Columbus's side. But I don't think that's too far down the line yet. But looking at it and talking to people around the league, this is a team that they're all wondering if the Columbus Blue Jackets get the idea or have a level of confidence that they can keep Quinn beyond his contract, then I would think they would be big players in this because they've got the pieces and the willingness to do it.
Second week in a row, David, you've told us pump the brakes a little bit. You don't believe anything is on the verge, imminent here with a Canucks move on Quinn Hughes. But that also extends to some of their other pieces. Now, we mentioned Evander Kane last week. If there's interest, it'll be closer to the deadline. There may even be a matter that's subduing interest in Evander Kane. But with regards to Kiefer Sherwood and Connor Garland, still just exploratory on the part of the Canucks?
That's what I'm being told, yes, as early as this morning. So from people that would know, obviously. This is something that, like, the price tag appear to have been set for a lot of their pieces that they're willing to move immediately. They're pending UFAs. Obviously, Sherwood leads it. O'Connor has another year left on his contract with some no trade protection. He's a player that I believe they're willing to move. Garland as well, but it's going to take convincing, and his no trade doesn't kick in until July. But everything I've been told as of going into this morning was status quo, nothing imminent, still talking, but still part of the exploratory stage. And I think on Sherwood, there has been a little bit of hesitancy because he has been in a bit of a cold streak goal-wise. He's still hitting, he's still doing his job, and he's still, got that $1.5 million cap hit. That's not going away for the rest of this year. So the other intangibles of his game are there. It's just a finish. And I don't think, everyone's realistic. I don't think anybody anticipated Kiefer Sherwood being capable of keeping that up pace-wise and being a 40-plus goal scorer. But if this is a guy who's in the 25 range for a full season, 25, 27 goals, maybe this season he cracks 30 or gets close to it and is still top 5, top 3 in hits, that's a very, very valuable asset. But right now, teams are just wondering, all right, maybe we can try to drive the price down a little bit because it hasn't changed. It's first-round pick plus or equivalent plus for Sherwood. Because he's in a bit of a slump, maybe we can pounce if we offer a little bit less or something to that extent. And obviously the Canucks are holding their ground. So that's kind of what the status is on his front and pretty much on everybody else for the time being.
We're also having the discussion here in Vancouver about whether Rutherford and Alvin deserve to make this deal after this has all come crumbling down on their watch. But you tell me, do you believe there's any chance that this is the next GM or the next management group that has to deal with the Quinn Hughes trade?
Yeah, and I know that the word is that, Jim Rutherford and Patrick Alvin have full backing of ownership to do whatever they need to do now. Typically, if that's the case, then you're not considering making a change at the top of the helm anytime soon. That's usually the indicator across sports that if you're allowing your president and GM to do this, that they're going to be able to, they're not going to be leaving in the summer because we finished last or second last or whatever, even with that trade. Again, reiterating, I still don't think anything is close on that front, on the Quinn Hughes front. But if you're giving that responsibility to them, I don't see it. Logically, I don't see a change happening after the fact. Now we're hearing, you're hearing names, you're hearing others, and Brendan Shanahan is looking for a job. He's with the NHL right now. He's actively lobbying. The league is going to back him. The big reason why he got to Toronto was because of the influence that the league had in pumping his tires. And I think that will continue. And I anticipate him being in the NHL outside of the league office with a team maybe as early as next season. But I don't get that sense right now. And a lot of it has to deal with that idea that, they're giving Rutherford and Alvin that ability to shake things up and rejig this whole thing.
Truth be told, too, David, 4 years is not that long for a management group, is it?
No.
Like usually 5 is the bare minimum.
It's not that long if you're
Right.
building or you're working towards something. When you're last place in the NHL,
I hear
4
ya.
years in,
but it's also
on
Jim
your
Rutherford, an
anniversary date.
acclaimed elder statesman of the hockey man world. So a rookie GM, sure, you could fire him after 4 years. 4 years for a veteran like that would seem rash, wouldn't it?
I think so. A guy of his pedigree and his experience, and he's still holding the cards. Any big moves that are being made, he's handling. You've got to give him a bit of a run here. And you look at some of these, and yes, the first couple of years look great, and then everything fell apart last year, and that's carried into this season. But I still believe that they're going to give them a shot to kind of clean up some of the mess. And the other thing too, whether it's them or somebody else, if you're moving Quinn Hughes and you're bringing in all these younger assets, even if they're NHL level or just starting to get there, if you're going through a rebuild, you got 7 guys with no movement clauses, another 2 guys with partial no trades, and you got more no movement clauses kicking in next summer. I don't know how you can properly go through a rebuild unless you somehow convince all of them to say, yeah, you can move me. I don't care anymore. I just don't see that being realistic. So even with Hughes, even if you're making that move and you're bringing in, certain pieces, I just don't see a full teardown. It doesn't compute to me. You give them an opportunity to clean up some other pieces and to fill the cupboard and to make those adjustments to this roster by moving out your guys on short-term deals or expiring contracts. You fill that and you try to see if those pieces that are being brought in now, along with whatever future assets through some of these deals, if these are going to start propelling you forward, and you're going to be in a better position by making additional proper moves in the offseason. This is a combo situation. Obviously, nobody expected the Canucks to be last right now. But this is what's happening. It's still sinking into that room. It's frustrating them. Adam Foote talked about it yesterday, about how much this noise is starting to get to some of these guys, because that's normal. They're human. It's going to affect you. How do you get out of this? It's tough. Mentally, it's tough. And that's another factor in all of this.
Yeah, difficult days here for the Vancouver Canucks on yesterday being the 4-year anniversary of Rutherford's hiring. Wow. David, awesome stuff as always. Thank you, my friend. You have a great week. Give our best to Irf on Wednesday. We'll catch up next Thursday.
Can't wait, boys. See ya.